Welcome to another video in this series of replacing air conditioning components on a W210 Mercedes-Benz. Here I'll show you how to replace your expansion valve. It's really an easy job. If you have it done by a shop or a Mercedes-Benz dealership, the job will easily cost you hundreds of dollars, if not over $1,000. So you can do it. You just need some patience and you need to be persistent. Here's the workshop manual. It has the steps in summary, but nothing in detail. So continue to watch the video. You can pause and see the instructions on a large screen. The expansion valve is located right below where you see the screwdriver now, underneath and behind all those plastic pieces. The first of which you remove using a Phillips screwdriver. There are a total of 6 or so screws. You remove those one by one. The rest then come out. They're held by clips, all kinds of clips. And you'll see that as I'm taking them out. And there are a couple of plastic rivets too that I remove with a chisel, and you don't need to replace those. And this rubber piece comes out very easily, and you can put it back in just as easily also. Now, anytime you want to remove or replace any of your air conditioning components, you will have to replace the receiver dryer. If you don't, you risk having to do the job all over again. So for example, if you replace your compressor, you'll have to also replace your receiver dryer. Condenser the same way. Expansion valve, as here, you'll have to then also replace your receiver dryer. And I have a separate video for that. And before you open up the AC system, you have to have the system evacuated professionally by someone, unless you have the equipment. Even though R-134a Freon is not as dangerous to the environment, but still you want to comply with your local laws. This piece you take out, you just pull it out. It allows you to reach one of the screws. The wiper arm I didn't need to remove, but I thought I did. You don't have to. The wiper assembly is held by 3 nuts, one to the right as you see here, and I think they're 10 or 13 millimeter nuts. So you need a set of metric sockets, one on the left as you see here, and then another one to the left of the brake fluid reservoir right there. And then this white clip, you unclip it with a flat-headed screwdriver, and then it moves out. There's an electrical connector. You press the 2 ends of it inwards at the same time as you're pulling it out. It comes out easy. And then you remove the entire assembly out of the way. Just like I said, be patient. Don't force anything out, otherwise you risk, especially these cars are now very old, you risk breaking things. And so if you see resistance, keep looking for another clip until you find it, and then undo the clip. And this piece here, this is the right air inlet and the workshop instructions. You put this to the side, and using pliers you remove, you undo it, and then by hand the rest of the way. These are the 2 screws that the top 2 nuts of holding the wiper assembly connect to. And the plastic rivets, I had to chisel them out. There are 2 of them. So now this large plastic piece has to come out before you can get to the expansion valve, and this is I guess I tried to shortcut the process, and I should have removed the white bracket you see there to the left that holds the wiper arm, the wiper assembly. I should have removed that, and I didn't. And that white bracket is held just by one nut or bolt, as you see here in the bottom of the screen. If I had done that, then this whole piece would have just come out very easily. I maneuvered to get it out without breaking it, using using an assistant. But for me, this was the hardest piece. For you, it shouldn't be. And right there's a rubber grommet that gives you access. You move that out, and there's a hole gives you access to the nut that holds the two pressure lines to the expansion valve. And now, if you take the bracket out and the water collector, the black water collector, then you don't need to go through that hole to get to that nut. As you'll see later in the video, once I do take it out, when I put everything back in, I realize I cannot torque it, so then I have to take that out. But when you remove, this is an 8mm, I believe, hex socket. These two screws are holding the expansion valve to the evaporator in the back under the dash. So first you remove the hex nut, the 10mm hex nut that holds the two pressure lines to the expansion valve, and then the two screws. And then if you have an air gun, just press some air into the evaporator. This is the point where if you have the right chemicals in the machine to wash the evaporator. Some people do that. If yours is dirty, maybe you should, but I didn't. Compare the new expansion valve to the old unit. Make sure you have the right part, and I'll have the part in the description for the W210. Anytime you take out the pressure lines, make sure you cover the end of the lines with the ends with something. I used aluminum foil here. And also when you put things back together, this is the 8mm socket that I use for the two screws. Anytime you put the lines back in, you want to make sure you have new rubber gaskets or rubber O-rings, they're called, and I'll have those parts in the description too. So here somehow I managed to even torque the two 8mm screws. The torque value is 8 Newton meters for these two. So I managed to insert a socket and a wrench there and torque it. And it's crucial that you torque this correctly, that you have a torque wrench, because otherwise you risk, of course, risk leaks, Freon leaks, and you'll have to do the whole thing all over again. There's a hole that bracket that the screw goes through in the bracket, and that bracket holds the two pressure lines. The larger in diameter of the two is the low pressure line. The smaller one is the high pressure line. Those are new rubber gaskets, and so that bracket holds the lines together. And the hex nut, the 10mm nut that I couldn't get to from there, So this is how easy it is to remove the white bracket that holds the wiper assembly. You just remove some of those wires out of the way, and then you remove the white piece and then the water collector, and as you'll see in a second, this is how easy to get to that nut from the left side without the water collector in the way, and also to torque it. And I torqued it by hand, but I've done this a lot. With experience, you learn how much force to apply. But if you are not experienced, you can get crowfoot wrenches, they call them. You can get them at Harbor Freight or anywhere, and using those torque this to 10 Newton meters. The installation is just reverse of the removal procedure, and I don't have that in the video. It is very easy. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Look at the other videos in this series of air conditioning refurbishment, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.